the 4Degens podcast. The fellas are here, ready to rock as we're watching Howard get ran by Wagner right now in the first
10
four
points.
games. It's not ran, but it does look ugly. We're gonna be talking about uh our reactions to who we think got snubbed, who we think shouldn't be in the tournament, and then also filling out our brackets live. Obviously, this is just one of many going into the rotations of bracketology from the 4D Gents podcast. How are you guys feeling going into it so far? Anything crazy? I know I'm upset about Indiana State not being in it. I think they should have easily been an at-large bid, especially personally for me over UVA. I think they were a better team than UVA this year.
Yeah, I completely agree. Even throwing my Virginia Tech UVA bias aside, I mean, Indiana State is the lowest or the, I guess, highest rank net team to ever be left out of the NCAA tournament. Um, Virginia, I mean, clearly plays a brand of basketball that no one really likes to watch unless you're a Virginia fan. I mean, you do have a good record, 23-10, but down the stretch, Virginia just never really looked like a tournament team. Um, I know there was one, two, three, four, maybe five losses they had on the road of 20 points or more. I just can't think of an at-large tournament team that has ever done that before. I'm sure it's happened. It might have even happened last year, but just thinking about that just really makes you think, well, why did this team get in?
I I personally think, and we'll kind of go into it. I think I seen Grayson about to talk. This will be quick. I think that the bracket makers were pretty lazy this year. The fact that UConn is the number one team and has the absolute clear hardest bracket is just absurd to me. I mean, they have the best two seed, probably the best three seed, especially by rankings. I'm like literally the way that the last AP poll ranked. I'm pretty sure they had the best two seed, three seed, and either the first or second best four seed, which doesn't make sense, especially as defending national champions.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of get wanting to throw the kitchen sink at them, but I mean, got the SEC champ, the Big Ten champ, the Big 12 champ. I mean, that's the kitchen sink there. I mean, I don't know what caused them to kind of gravitate towards just giving every possible, deterrent against UConn repeating. I still don't think UConn's going to repeat. I think they'll come out of this region. But as far as seeding goes, I mean, yeah, we can look right in the East at Duquesne as an 11 seed. It's pretty obvious that's where they expected VCU to pick up the conference, and they didn't. They just kind of slapped them in there. There's some weird stuff with BYU coming off the 5 line because of a potential Sunday game, and that's more off the court stuff and what BYU's all about. But just very, very weird. The kind of middle seeds felt kind of thrown together. Boise State in the first 4 games was a little surprising to me. Virginia should not have even been in the NIT for all the reasons Cole mentioned, and especially the timing of some of those bad losses. I just don't quite get what we're doing there. And so, I mean, the fact that, and this is biased because I don't want to play them, but New Mexico being an 11 is crazy, I think. I think they were underseeded. Utah State is a 9, another one I found to be interesting. So, I mean, I guess we're hyper focused on seeding, and as brackets and betting picks up on the tournament, there's going to be more people complaining about it. But I really think this was a pretty large miss as far as what we entrust this committee with to do. It's not entirely difficult. They have all year to sit down and watch and kind of have a general idea. NC State is 11 seed winning the ACC is a choice. I realize they're one of those bid stealers, but I mean, that's a curious place to put them, I thought, especially when Virginia is at 10, even having to play their way in. So, very interesting selection Sunday. My Clemson Tigers are, I think, seeded appropriately for their likely one game in the tournament. So, no qualms there from a bias perspective. And I'm an ACC guy, but there's no place for Virginia. I think Pitt was a more deserving bubble team than them.
100%.
They weren't even really on the screen.
Pitt was playing like a tournament team that could get hot and get to the Sweet 16 the last 10, 12 games of the season. I mean,
that would be my pick to be like Miami last year.
Hard play, tons of 3-point shooting.
Yeah.
Just a complete all-around team, just much better than UVA.
Yeah, and I think they had
scarier team too.
Scarier team, can definitely cause some bracket busting, but also I think they had a better resume. I don't love their resume. I was kind of on our way home as the brackets were coming out. I know Jay Billis kind of made a case for him, but I was against it, obviously, with some bias there.
Mhm.
But comparing them to UVA, I think they clear them as a resume. It's just crazy to me that, and I know we're just harping on UVA right now, but just crazy to me that they got in. I think there were so many other teams deserving. Indiana State, Pitt,
Mhm.
just to name a few right there.
St. John's, Seton Hall, any of
Yeah,
those.
and
Probably
honestly,
Yeah, the Big East got screwed.
yeah.
Big East
for
got
sure.
screwed. The fact that they have only
We heard
3
that,
teams
Jack.
in it?
No.
3 teams.
Yeah, and that, I mean,
The Big East,
some of those historical metrics look at if you don't have at least 4 teams in, I mean, that means nothing. UConn's a hell of a team, but just
Mhm.
looking at trends and rolling teams out, that does not bode well for the Big East in general. Although I think between UConn and Marquette, I'd be stunned if they don't have a Final Four team. So,
and I agree with that. But I did read something where they were like some of the metrics were a little off because you had to think of like they played DePaul twice a year, and then who was the other really bad one? I'm blanking. Georgetown. Thank you.
right.
DePaul and Georgetown. So that's 4 games that are basically bye games, especially if you're. So I did see some people making the case of that, like that kind of watered down a little bit of the Big East, but I still don't think that they're a
Yeah,
three
I mean,
team league.
Mizzou went winless in the SEC. They were a bye for every damn team in that conference. So
Yep.
there are bye teams everywhere you look. And that
Yeah.
was honestly Mizzou's most egregious. They went 0-17, 18 if you throw in the Georgia loss in the SEC tournament. So, I mean, we can look at the stellar teams in every conference, and they're all terrible.
I mean, WVU,
But, yeah.
unfortunately.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to name all the names, but yeah.
We could have the random game, but for the most part, we fit into that.
I got one more thing I want to say on seeding. First of all, impressive for the Mountain West to get 6 teams in, but every single one of these teams outside of San Diego State at a 5 is underseeded 1 or even 2 seeds. I look at Nevada as a 10 seed and Dayton as a 7. It just doesn't make any sense. Like you could flip those, and I would agree with it more than I would Dayton as a 7, Nevada as a 10. New Mexico is an 11. I know we've already talked about this off air, but that is the most egregious seeding I've ever seen. The fact the committee basically said if this team didn't win the Mountain West Conference Championship, their maybe last 4 in is just shocking to me. I mean,
well, I mean, even
Utah State as a 8, they were really a 6.
Well, then even if you think about it, I think JMU and McNeese State as a 12 is crazy. They're 30-win teams. I know they're not in the I know McNeese State has a little bit of some stuff going around about their out of conference schedule, so we don't have to talk about them as much. But think of JMU. I mean, they start the season with beating Michigan State, who
Michigan State's a 9 seed. It doesn't matter. You go on the road and you beat Tom Izzo.
Yep.
As JMU, I mean, impressive.
31-win team, and then you get rewarded with a 12 seed, which I know is like the typical spot for upsets, but it just feels like they just kind of threw this together as quickly as possible and then got out and got their money's worth.
I mean, you look at, I know we've already talked about it, but Duquesne is an 11 and JMU is a 12. Like I get it, man. The A10, obviously, historically, great conference, better than the Sun Belt. But the fact that they don't take the time to at least change the seating down from Duquesne once you figure out that it's not VCU in, just mind-boggling. It doesn't.
Yeah, you can't say Duquesne has a better resume than JMU or McNeese.
No,
you just can't do it.
Or Sanford, for that
Or
matter.
Sanford. But All right, we'll move into unless y'all got anything else. I also don't think Michigan State's a tournament team this year. Personally, I think that's
Yeah.
I think that's a little more on the bubble, but I don't think they're a tournament team personally. Now they can still make
Sycamores
noise.
instead.
They're talented enough to make noise, but I'd rather see Indiana State and Robbie Avila in
Same
the
goes
big show.
for FAU. I feel like if Michigan State and Florida Atlantic aren't preseason top 10 teams, like if they're not on the radar, not ranked, no one's really discussing them. Does the committee look at them differently? 100%.
Oh yeah, they're not an 8 seed.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, they're not an
Yeah.
8 seed.
Mm.
All right, we're gonna move into. We'll start in the East. Is this screen moving for y'all on there?
Give it a second.
Working on it.
I think I zoomed in on it. I think we're good there. Start in the East here. How y'all feel? We can go through each game if you want to pick, or we can even just skip to who you think's going to win, or your upsets in this place. I already have a couple of upset picks, but we'll start it off. Jack, you didn't get to say much there, so you start us off as our crazy pick person here.
Oh man, you guys were just killing it. I mean, the only thing I think is the Big 12. I mean, they got heavy favorited. Like Kansas had a 4 seed, but the way they finished the season is, I think, insane. With 2 of their last 3 games, they lost by more than 20 points, and they had they're literally no depth. So big mistake there. And I'm not a homer, but like Texas had a 7 seed when they were projected an 8 or 9 is kind of crazy. But it is what it is. Anyways, on to the East. I think UConn this is their bracket. This is their side to lose. I mean, yeah, they have quote unquote the hardest bracket, but the 3 division conference winners they got hot at the right time. I mean, Houston played really bad in the Big 12 championship, like really, really bad. Forgot how to play basketball. Illinois got hot in the Big 10, and then, up losses in the SEC tournament kind of led to Auburn winning the SEC. They won the SEC, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yep.
Sorry.
Yeah. So I think a lot of Kentucky and Tennessee losing kind of hurt them. They just played the bad games they shouldn't have lost. But like I said, other than that, and some upsets I have alerts, maybe not official yet, but would be the Drake Washington State game. I kind of like Drake in that matchup. Washington State really hasn't impressed me. And then another one, as much as I think maybe the Duke BYU game would be an upset.
I think BYU is very polarizing. I don't hate that.
And I think BYU gets, like I said, the Big 12 gets love. All their teams got love in the kind of getting seeding. And BYU is decent, but they didn't finish strong either. But those are kind of some upsets I have. Other than that, kind of just browsing here. Nothing yet. Maybe if something comes up while you guys talk, I'll bring it up. But that's kind of my place for the East right now.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Grayson said. I think that UConn is probably going to come out of this bracket. FAU, if they play well, can turn it on. I do think FAU probably beats Northwestern, even though there's a little incentive there now with Boo not making first team. Was All-American, I believe, as he averaged 21 and whatever he averaged in the Big Ten. One that I'm eyeing a little bit right now is Morehead State.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a good spot for Morehead State. Pause. Against Illinois, Terrence Shannon Jr. is not very not very used to taking no for an answer. So I kind of like going against them. But no, seriously, I do not lean. I'm looking more deeply there. But this is a hard bracket. I like BYU. I'm kind of opposite of you. I think BYU handles Duquesne. I think they get hot, and I think they win against out of whoever comes out of Illinois or Morehead State. But I unfortunately have chalk here with the 1 and 2 in the Elite Eight with UConn, and I'm taking Iowa State coming out of the East in this just because of the fact that they are insanely good at defensively, and they feed off their defense, and I think defense travels.
Yeah, I've got Morehead State too, so that's probably not going to happen, unfortunately.
I
have them
too, man.
I have them in 10. I do have Northwestern getting a win for the Big Ten in the East, but with UConn on deck, it doesn't matter who you pick in the 8-9. In all honesty, I think that we do get a little bit of seed karma, and FAU gets bounced after the run last season. I think UAB is probably the most picked 12-5. I just don't quite see it. It's almost like I'm taking the upset with San Diego State, the way I've seen it kind of talked about online in the March Madness bubble on social media. But I think Auburn beats whoever comes out of that 5-12 game anyway. Morehead State and Drake, my main two upsets, although I think Drake's actually favored, so it depends on what you term upset to be. And I picked BYU over Iowa State in the Sweet 16 just because I do think UConn comes out of the East as the 1 seed. I think they're plus 110 to make Final Four. So I don't love the title odds at that price, but I think it's never a safe bet in March, but I feel pretty confident they can win the East. And if they make the Elite Eight, you've got a pretty solid hedge opportunity because they will be favored with whoever they match up with for the region. So I will take UConn as the ultimate chalk to make the Final Four out of the East.
Nice.
That's fair. Yeah, I'm with Grayson on my 2 upset picks. I was all over Morehead State the moment I saw it. Illinois, one of the 4 teams with a top 10 offense and under 100 or not in the top 150th in defense. Those being Illinois, UK, Bama, and Baylor. Only 4 of those 28 teams in the past 10 tournaments or something like that have made it past the Sweet 16. The only one making it to the Final Four being Miami from a couple of years ago. I just feel like the style of basketball Morehead State plays can just really slow down Illinois and what they want to do with Terrence Shannon. And like Grayson said, I mean, it's, technically an upset by seeding, but I feel like Drake is the favorite for good reason in this one. Sweet 16 for this one, kind of chalk. I'll go UConn, Auburn up top. Then I got BYU and Iowa State on the bottom. Unlike everyone else here, I do not have UConn coming out of this region. They're the best team in the country, but I just don't think they get out of this region. It's just so tough. It's not fair to them, but nothing's easy in March. You can complain all you want, but if UConn finds a way to get out of this region, they deserve a national championship just for getting to the Final Four. I mean, it's ridiculous.
I think they literally built this region just to beat UConn.
That's what it feels like.
Yeah.
Auburn is the 4th ranked Ken Palm team. Iowa State is 5th, and I want to say Illinois is 9th or 10th. I mean, it's just insane.
Yeah.
But I do have Auburn over Iowa State in the Elite Eight. Auburn coming out of this region.
I don't hate Auburn. I was stuck in between taking them over UConn or not. I still went Iowa State going to the Final Four. I think that they've hit their stride. They just destroyed Houston in the Big 12 championship. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of why I leaned them coming out of this region. Really, this is just a press and hope situation for this because there are like 5, 6 teams that legitimately could come out of this and that's not even with huge upsets. That could just legit come out of this and not be shocked by it, barring any huge upsets.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like Iowa State is this Houston Light-esque team. I mean, they don't have the athleticism that Houston has on the defensive end of the floor, but they do very similar things defensively. very similar offenses in terms of adjusted efficiency. I mean, I'm assuming Houston is number one in the country in defense. You would just assume. I think they're
Yeah.
50th or 60th, somewhere like that in offense. And Iowa State's somewhere in that 5 to 10 range in defense, 60 to 70 on offense. I don't like that matchup, whether it's Auburn or UConn that meets them in the Elite Eight. I do like them getting to the Elite Eight because I just love that bottom half of the bracket for them. I mean, I think they're going to beat BYU if they get there. I think they beat Illinois if they get there. I think they beat Drake or Washington State, whoever that ends up being in the round of 32. It's just getting past Auburn or UConn is why I couldn't put them into the Final Four.
That's fair. That's fair. Anything else on the East from you all before we move on to another region?
Nope.
All right. Let's scroll down here into the West. I don't have any crazy stats. I do think I'll kind of go through. North Carolina is going to handle whichever team comes out of this Wagner Howard game, I believe. This 8-9 matchup for me is a mess because Mississippi State looked really good all season and then kind of spun their tires to end it. And I think they're a better team than Michigan State, but I'm going to lean Michigan State here. Like Grayson said in the top one, I think whoever wins that matchup loses to the one anyway, so it doesn't really matter. At least for me. In the 5-12, St. Mary's is a pick that I feel like, at least on my Twitter and TikTok, seems that everybody is against right now, and it's just because of how slow how slow their pace is, and everybody keeps saying how much they turn the ball over, and how good Grand Canyon matches up with them. So I actually like St. Mary's in this, and I think that they're gonna beat Bama or Charleston coming out of it. I think that just the difference in styles is going to take control, especially with a team like Bama, who has not been shooting the ball well. I mean, if Bama plays like Bama did for that 2-week stretch where they were just destroying teams, that they could win the tournament. But the way they were shooting to end the season is not going to make it happen. So I like St. Mary's to get to the Sweet 16 there against UNC. And then, unfortunately, Grayson, I'm sorry, I have to go New Mexico. And they are favored, I think, right now still. And like we said, they're super underseeded. I think Clemson has the build to be a good tournament team, but as Grayson has very passionately told us before, Brad does like to lose these type of games because he's already kind of saved the season at this point. So I'm going New Mexico. Seen Colgate a couple times. I like Baylor there, and then Nevada and Arizona. Out of the bottom, I actually have New Mexico beating Baylor and making it to the Sweet 16, and then Arizona. And then just from there on out, I have Arizona coming out into the Final Four into that region. So whoever wants to can take it away.
Yeah, I'll start at the top. I will say Howard has cut it to 3 with a minute left as we've been talking here.
About to pause you and say that. Say that.
The madness is starting already, just 38 minutes and 54 seconds into this entire tournament. But the winner of that game will receive a 40-point loss to North Carolina probably. RJ Davis will probably score 30 minutes in the second half. That being said, I'll just go down through it here. I have Mississippi State on the 8 line, getting past Michigan State. It's more seed karma. Again, I think North Carolina handles whoever comes out of that. Like you mentioned, I'm off Grand Canyon as well. I would love them against almost any other 5 seed, but I just think St. Mary's is getting disrespected a bit here. We are coming off a year in which 0 12 seeds beat the 5, so I think we get regression back towards the mean of 1 or 2 here, but I don't think this is the one. It's also in Spokane, which is West Coast Conference territory, so I think that's going to help a bit. I think Charleston beats Bama. I know Bama doesn't lose a lot of shootouts wherever they are. But I'm going to take the local team down here in South Carolina to get that done. New Mexico is going to beat Clemson. If you need a reason, coaching. You need a second reason, coaching. And then finally, coaching will be the reason that we lose this game. So love PJ Hall. He's done all he could as a Clemson guy, one of the better players we've had in a very long time. But I think that we fall in the first round, unfortunately. Just really inconsistent guard play throughout the year with Hunter and the Syracuse transfer Gerard. So, we could absolutely win this game. I think the winner of the Clemson-New Mexico game does take down Baylor. My bracket will have New Mexico in the Sweet 16 over Baylor. And then down towards the bottom, we mentioned it off the top, Dayton is a 7 is a joke. I'm going to take Nevada. I think they're the better team. I don't really need to see the seed lines, honestly. But give me Arizona to reach the Sweet 16 out of that last portion there. And then I've got Arizona over North Carolina, Caleb Love beating his old squad to reach the Final Four out of the West.
You got it, Jack?
I like it.
I think this is potential for a lot of upsets in this region, and also when we hit the Midwest, I think the Midwest is the biggest upset region. I think, my personal opinion, I don't know how you guys feel about that, just based off bad seeding. But this region, I mean, Grand Canyon is a hot topic right now. I see it everywhere because of the way, like Larry said, St. Mary's plays. I like St. Mary's too. I also like St. Mary's against Bama if Bama can get past Charleston, because Bama has not been playing well offensively, and defensively they're one of the worst defenses in America. And St. Mary's can just play a nice slow dog-like game. I feel like they can kind of get there to the Sweet 16. I like UNC to get there regardless of who they play between the 8 and the 9. Clemson, New Mexico. I don't know. New Mexico. Should I just take Clemson just for safe reasons?
Jack is going to try and sleep podcast right now. God.
Yeah, please take Clemson because I'm taking.
Just
give me the Lobos. We'll just go to the Lobos. Give me the Lobos.
Don't they do this like the Wolfpack?
Yeah. No,
I like Baylor.
that's Nevada, right?
Oh yeah. Sorry, my bad.
I like Baylor though, regardless of if they play New Mexico or Clemson. I think Baylor that hasn't looked great recently, but I feel like they could find themselves in this time, find themselves at Colgate and then kick it hot. I also like Nevada over Dayton. I think Dayton is a really bad seeded 7 seed. They went 3-4 in quad 1 wins, and the 3 wins they have, none of those teams are in the tournament. So kind of they just don't like their record, their schedule at all. But Arizona, I feel like, is easily beating whoever comes out of there, regardless. And I have Arizona also in the Elite 8. Give me UNC though against Arizona. So I'm just gonna have 2 1 seeds so far in the Final Four. But let it ride.
Okay.
So far, all right, cool.
This is aside from obviously the your 116 and your 215 matchup. Even though Arizona lost to a 15 last year, too. Put that aside. Every other game in this region, I don't feel confident about. Aside from, I guess I feel a little bit confident about New Mexico, but really that can still be a toss-up. I do have Michigan State coming out of that 8-9 matchup just because it's Tom Izzo. I saw something that he's like 70% straight up whenever he's the lower seed, which is just insane.
That is insane.
It might not be that high, but it was definitely above 60. I don't know, guys. I'm drinking the Kool-Aid on Grand Canyon. I've thought they were great all year, and even though I don't like the matchup against St. Mary's, I'm still going to take it and stick with them. So whatever, I'll ride with them. The Bama-Charleston matchup is so interesting. This game could be like 130 to 130 in 4 overtimes just because no one's going to play defense.
It's 130, 130 in regulation.
Yeah, honestly, it could happen. Charleston is 20-0 in games which they score 80 points or more. That's going to change. Bama can outscore them. There's not going to be any defense in this game. High scoring, but give me Bama. And I know I've already said it, but New Mexico is one of the hottest teams in the country right now. Their point guard is a dog. Give me New Mexico over Clemson. Yet again, Brad Brownell loses important games. It just happens.
So everyone take Clemson, hammer Clemson is basically what we're saying.
Yeah, that's
Everybody
exactly.
hammer.
Yeah, hammer Clemson. I thought about another 14-3 upset here. Colgate's always one of those teams who's they always seem to be right there of knocking someone off as a 14 or a 15, whatever they are. But I just think too much scoring in the end, kind of the same way I feel about Bama beating Charleston. And like we've already said, Nevada just criminally underrated here as a 10. Give me Nevada. And then Arizona to beat Long Beach State, and their coach can finally get fired. See Michigan State, I feel like it's such an intriguing matchup, but give me North Carolina, give me RJ Davis. I feel like in the end, it's just going to be Michigan State losing another close game because that's all they've been able to do all year. Yet again, I'm going to drink the Kool-Aid on Grand Canyon, put them into the Sweet 16, taking down Alabama. I know I've already said it about Illinois earlier, but those teams, a great offense but horrible defense. I'm not going to trust Alabama. I don't think they get past UNC, even if they do make it to the Sweet 16. And I do have New Mexico over Baylor, and then Arizona in a close game over Nevada. Grand Canyon's run comes to an end. UNC advances on to the Elite Eight to meet up with New Mexico. New Mexico is going to take down Arizona. New Mexico, the 11 seed, advancing to the Elite Eight. But it ends there. In the end, UNC is just too much. I think they're probably the most complete team in college basketball right now. It seems like they have everything. I'm not saying they're the best team because I think that's UConn. But the way they have really gelled throughout the year and played cohesively, I think they're gonna find a way to get to the Final Four.
Well, as Cole was going through his bracket there, Howard put up 4 threes and couldn't tie the game. So Wagner wins the first game of the NCAA tournament, and I lose the first bet of the NCAA tournament. So there we go.
Quick note on the West while we're on gambling for a second. Looks like Arizona and North Carolina are pretty much co-favorites to come out of the region. I think I'm speaking on all of us. We're pretty confident one of the two comes out. You can get both at 3-1 or higher than that. So if you want to just pick those two to come out of the West, sit back, watch a little bit of chaos, and then see the chalk shine through. That's not a bad shout as a way to have a solid look at a Final Four team, giving you multiple options with guaranteed profit, especially if they match up in the Elite Eight. You don't even have to bet the game. You've already got guaranteed profit, however that one shakes out if they do meet up in the Elite Eight.
I like that angle, Grayson. I think for me, I know Cole made a good case for New Mexico. I don't hate it. I mean, we're bound to have something crazy happen, especially with how even throughout the entire college basketball scene it is now with the transfer portal, as much as that is a whole different conversation. But I think the only other team I truly see that has like a genuine chance is it out of this region would be Bama, and that's if Bama gets hot. They're not going to stop anybody, but if Bama gets hot and they play like that beat was it Kentucky? They beat Kentucky by like what was it, 13? Something.
They
like
put
that.
like 120 on it. It was a lot.
Yeah, they destroyed Kentucky. I don't. They
also
probably
120 put on them by Kentucky.
Yeah, but if it's the team that does that, then they can come out, and because they're just going to outscore everybody in this region. But like we said, they don't play any defense whatsoever. So, Jack is gone. Also, while we were going through that, we have
Did we just lose Larry?
I think so.
Sick. Bama has not only played Kentucky once this year, right?
I just remember that later season matchup, but they may have.
Larry said, "I'm still here."
I see him on the screen. Yeah, on the side of this.
Tell him to show on screen or whatever.
Thank you. But I couldn't get it to show on screen. I had my screen messed up. I don't know what just happened, but I was done with that rant. Anyways, I was saying that as we were talking, we had a chat that one of my buddies from back home needed Howard for a parlay, so that parlay is already gone.
Well, I just checked Twitter and saw that Trent has Auburn winning it all. So,
Oh, well, that means Auburn losing in the first round,
Yep.
guaranteed.
yep. Guess who I have winning it all?
Is it Auburn?
Yep.
Burned that.
God almighty, man. No, I'm sticking with it. I don't care.
Is it showing the Midwest for you all on your screen?
Yeah, we can see it.
All right, bet. All right, moving into the Midwest, I think personally, being relatively quick with this one, just because I hate this region of the bracket, I think Purdue has the easiest walk to an Elite Eight ever.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous.
Utah State, TCU, I don't give a shit who wins. They're not beating Purdue, especially with Zach Edey. I think Utah State wins, but doesn't really matter. I was wanting to go McNeese forever, but I think I'm going to go Gonzaga. I think Graham Ike is going to control the boards enough to get them through that upset. I am going to switch to Samford as of recent news with McCullers being out. And before Grayson and Jack got on, me and Cole were talking about how Hunter Dickinson is going to play. But if you paid attention to the Big 12 tournament, or was it the final regular season game? Whichever game he got injured in.
It was the final regular season game.
I think it was too. He dislocated his right shoulder, and yes, it's not his shooting arm, but as a big man, he's backing down with his right arm, so there's more wear and tear. He always makes post moves to his right shoulder, so I think that's going to affect him more than it is going to be expected. So I like Samford now without McCullers there, especially if they get in a little foul trouble. Kansas has no bench already. Oregon, I feel like it's the trendiest pick ever because of the tweet that went around with their coach has never lost a first round as a higher seed or something like that.
Dana Altman,
yeah,
he's a goat. He is a goat.
But I don't like South Carolina, so I'll follow that with Oregon. I don't think whoever wins that will beat Creighton though. I'm going Texas. This is pretty chalky. It feels like Tennessee is going to destroy St. Peter's by 30. St. Peter's can't score a bucket. Tennessee is going to absolutely dominate them after their embarrassing loss. I'll go Tennessee and Creighton, and then Gonzaga and Purdue. Unfortunately, Purdue versus Creighton for me, and I'm going to take Purdue coming out of this. I think Creighton is – actually, you know what? I've been thinking, going back and forth. I'm going Creighton on this one. I think Creighton has, with Kalkbrenner, is able to match up well with Purdue, and I think that their guards are a little bit better than Braden Smith and Purdue. So I'll go Creighton coming out of the Midwest. Nothing crazy there. I felt like that is just a dumb region personally.
Yeah, I mean, this whole region changed an hour and a half ago when the news came out that Kansas was without one of their two best players. Dickinson obviously is going to also be way less than 100%, I think, at least through this first weekend. And then, whatever wear and tear he puts on it through those first two games that they haven't played to is going to affect him for the rest of their tournament. So, I mean, you mentioned Purdue in the Elite Eight. That's where I've got them now. I'll take Utah State. A little bit of motivation behind their less than accurate seeding, we'll call it, on the 8 line over TCU in a game that, like you also said, you can kind of coin flip it and go with whoever, because we share faith in Purdue getting past either one. I know there's going to be an upset. It's either the 4 or the 5. I'm just going to take both. Screw it. I don't care. I'm going to take McNeese State and Samford. I'll take Samford through to the Sweet 16, and then I'll take Purdue to get to the Elite 8. Further down the bracket, I hate South Carolina. I know their coach is great. That's why I hate them even more. Give me Dana Altman to smoke them, as he always does in the first round, it seems like. And I'll take Creighton over Akron. I'll take Texas over Virginia or Colorado State, whoever gets to 40 points first here in a little bit tonight. I guess Rick Barnes will beat St. Peter's. I wouldn't put it past him, as terrible of a coach in March as he is. His only accomplishment in 60 years of coaching was with Kevin Durant, who's now 40. So just give you an idea of how Rick Barnes does in March. I'm going to take Texas or St. Peter's over Tennessee. Tennessee is not a Sweet 16 team. They have one player and a bunch of guys who try to support him, kind of. So it's essentially Steph Curry and a bunch of scrubs on this Tennessee team, which is kind of how it goes for the Warriors, who are not a great team in the NBA. So I'll take Creighton to meet Purdue in the Elite 8, and I've been big on Creighton the entire time. So I will take Creighton into the Final Four. They are plus 500-ish, depending where you shop it at, to make it out of the region. I love that as a future. I don't know if their path goes well beyond the Final Four, but I think to get out of this Midwest region, especially in the light of the bad news for Kansas, I think they have a great shot. And then, Purdue atones for their sins last year. Not like Virginia, they won't win it all the following year, but I think that Elite 8 is progress when you play one game the previous year. So give me Creighton over Purdue out of the Midwest.
Awesome. Before we move on, we got a question in the chat from Yurka. He said, Final Four, he's got UNC, Creighton, Auburn, and Florida. What are our thoughts? I'll start out. As we've kind of went through the other two brackets, I know Cole likes Auburn. I don't hate UNC. I think I have them in the Elite 8. Me and Grayson both just picked Creighton to go to the Final Four. But Florida losing their starting center, I don't love that pick personally. And
dude, Florida's path too. If Florida wins, they play Marquette most likely, then Kentucky most likely, and then either Houston or Duke.
Yeah. So I mean the other three, but I don't love Florida.
I will go ahead and say I still love the way Florida plays. I think for tournament style basketball, neutral court, I think they're the second or third best SEC team behind Auburn and kind of in there with Tennessee.
That's fair. And they finished the season well. That injury is just what scares me off.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, man. I don't know. I think Todd Golden is a wonderful coach, and he's gonna make Florida really, really good again. I've been very high on him since he was at San Francisco.
That's fair. Good point. All right, back to the Midwest. Sorry, Grayson. Go ahead.
Real quick on Florida, they had that Auburn game cut to 1 after a big deficit early. That final score not really indicative of how that game went. I think the better team did take home the SEC and Auburn, but I mean Florida, like Cole mentioned, they've got some of the ingredients as far as how they play away from home and neutral court style to where they can make a run, but the draw is just brutal. You could run into Marquette, you can run into Kentucky if Calipari decides to earn his paycheck one of these years. Even if NC State continues to be the hottest team in the country, they could face them. You don't want to face DJ Burns. And should they even survive to the Elite 8, they're waiting on Houston or Duke most likely. Those are two, frankly, better teams in Florida. So the path out of the South is not impossible. I would love Florida a lot more in a different region. But as far as teams go, Florida is not a bad shout, especially as one of those, as a 7 seed to the Final Four. Mm-hmm. That's one that if you hit, you're going to win your bracket pool. I don't hate that at all.
I imagine Florida in the Midwest region as that 7 seed.
That's what I was about to say, dude.
Right, exactly.
I love them if they're in the Midwest.
Yeah,
I mean,
if Florida,
you flip Texas and Florida, bro.
Yeah. So hopefully that answers your question, Yurka. I think he backed out of the thing as we were answering, but it's okay. Moving back into the Midwest, we got some good stuff there. Jack and Cole, you still both have to fill out that portion of the.
I'll take this as it's
Okay.
my boys' region. Like I was saying earlier, I think this region is full of upset potential, and it's pretty popular in the public. Whether it's McNeese over the Zags, Sanford over Kansas, Oregon over South Carolina. I mean, hell, you take your pick. But me personally, I got Purdue, I got TCU. Give me the Zags, give me Kansas. I just think I think Kansas, even with 5 men team only, can beat Sanford. But then give me the Zags to beat them in the round of 32. Give me Oregon. I'm drinking the juice with you guys. Give me Oregon. Give me Creighton. As much as it pains me, give me Texas. And then give me Tennessee. And then I think Tennessee beats Texas. Surely from a Texas fan perspective, Texas has to get hot. If they get hot, they can go far. But they have yet to get hot. It was trying to be the Big 12 tourney. They get hot. They lost to Kansas State. So, it depends. And I just don't think if Tennessee plays good offensively, we can't keep up. Max Amos is going to have to go off. We're going to have to be led by Max and Dylan. If one of them has a bad game, we could lose to Virginia. I'm not going to lie. But give me Creighton over the Ducks. Give me Purdue over the Zags. Creighton over Tennessee. I think Creighton isn't Creighton one top 25 team both offensively and defensively?
I believe they fit. Yeah, I believe they're up there in that.
And then give me also. I'll just follow you guys. Give me Creighton to come out of the Midwest. Unless the refs, I'm not going to say what I want to say, but if refs favor Zach Edey like they have been in the Big Ten tournament, then give me Purdue. But I'll take Creighton right now.
I think my only response to the refs thing, because I was thinking the same thing, and that's why I switched in the middle of it, kind of, is with Kalkbrenner. I think that you got 2 7-foot giants just battling, so they're not going to just lean to giving Edey the cause now because he's not just fighting against people trying to bully their way into his body. So that's why I lean Creighton in that matchup, but could easily see Purdue getting the whistle like they did all Big Ten.
All right, so I'll give you mine. Obviously, I got Grambling State over Purdue. No, I'm kidding. Purdue's not going to lose to a 16 seed again. That'd be awesome if they did. Because, God, I hate watching Purdue play basketball.
I do too.
Worse than watching Virginia. Watching Zach Edey get 20 calls a game infuriates me. And again, ad nauseum, Utah State, Mountain West, criminally underseeded. Give me them to take down TCU. With McNeese and Sanford, I'm going to have both of them getting the upset here. I just think the style of basketball McNeese can play can match up with Gonzaga. And with obviously Kevin McCullough news, and like we've already talked about with Hunter Dickinson, Achor is a name that America is going to learn after they take down Kansas. And I'm just not high on South Carolina. I haven't been all season. They're 26-7, but I've never once felt like they were a good team. And I'm sure Grayson agrees with me on that one, don't you?
Yeah, they have a lot of come from behind wins and some wins where they just it was almost unexplainably kind of. They were dogs in a lot of the games, I think rightfully so, but they just kind of found that groove and got hot. Mm-hmm. And we've seen the streaky teams do well. We've seen them do poorly. But I think this specific matchup against Oregon, a team who just won the last Pac-12 title ever, with the coaching advantage, even with what Lamont Paris has done, he's deserved his recognition, maybe a coach of the year, honestly.
Yeah.
But I think pedigree prevails here, and I think Oregon is just not the team you want to run into this time of year.
Yeah, Dana Altman as a double-digit seed. Oregon's getting healthy. N'Faly Dante is just a wrecker in the paint. Give me Oregon over South Carolina. Give me Creighton over at Akron, and then whoever wins in this game here in a couple of minutes, UVA or Colorado State, just give me that team over Texas. I have to pick.
I don't hate it. Don't hate it.
I have to pick one of the play-in games to win, and I don't feel like Colorado or Boise State can beat Florida. So just give me UVA or Colorado State over Texas. And then Tennessee over St. Peter's. Taking it back up to the 1-8 matchup. I think Utah State can really make this a game, but just go ahead and give me Purdue here. I think Zach Edey finds a way to draw enough fouls in this one. Matchup at McNeese and Sanford. It's going to be a great game. For this, I trust the coach who's had a little bit more experience, even though I think Sanford might be the better team, might run the better system to win this game. I just like Will Wade in this to get to the Sweet 16. And this is going to come to a surprise to the three of you, considering you picked Creighton. But I'm very high in Oregon. I've already said N'Faly Dante. I think he is going to manhandle Ryan Kalkbrenner. Creighton's a great team. It's never one of those teams I've ever really trusted in March for some reason. I don't know why. Just not a huge fan. Give me Oregon, 11 seed, taking down the 3 here. And give me Tennessee advancing on to the Sweet 16, even though Rick Barnes is horrible at his job in March. And getting on to the Elite Eight, just go ahead and take it all chalk. Purdue and Tennessee, even though this region was just complete chaos in the middle there. And I do like Tennessee to take down Purdue and get to their first ever Final Four. I think if Rick Barnes is ever going to do it, he has to do it this year. I mean, this is probably the most complete team he's had, maybe better than the Grant Williams team. Who was the other guy on that 2019 team? Oh my God.
I'm blanking. I already know who you were going to ask about it.
Admiral Schofield. Yeah. I mean, that was a great team, but I just like 1 through 10, Dalton Connect, Josiah Jordan James, Jonas Adu has really stepped up. Santiago Vescovi.
I hate Vescovi.
I think Zakai Ziegler is just gritty point guard, man. I think if Tennessee's ever going to do it with Rick Barnes, it has to be this year.
That's fair. I mean, I don't hate it. It's just Rick Barnes.
I know. I don't like my pick. But it's the most talented Tennessee team that we've seen in a very long time.
But Dalton Connect could easily lead them to it himself. So
100%.
So we got 3 Creightons and a Tennessee. Nobody taking Purdue out of that. And that's. I don't hate it.
I think it's more so that we hate Purdue rather than Purdue maybe being the best team that.
Yeah,
I hate Purdue.
Region. I just don't want Purdue to make the Final Four. I don't want to watch Zach Edey. I just hate it.
And I will preface this is also picking. Like I'll probably bet these games a lot different than what I'm saying right now too. Like you'll definitely see me be taking different things than what I'm saying I think will happen in the bracket. But all right, moving into the South, the last one. I definitely Houston. Me and Cole were talking about. I think that they had an injury in the Big 12 championship game, and I can't remember just because of bad memory and work and alcohol. But with college basketball reporting, you'll never know. You won't know until the 2 hours before the game who's playing or not. Nebraska, Texas A&M. I like A&M. I think Nebraska is not very good against above 500 teams, and I don't remember how to say his name. Is it Tomianga? How do you say his name?
Tosi Managa.
Something like that, yeah.
Tosi Managa, yeah. I don't think he's good enough to carry Nebraska to a win over Texas A&M personally. But it doesn't matter because they'll lose to Houston, so whatever. I like JMU over Wisconsin. Wisconsin looked like a team that was on a ventilator going into the end of the season, and they just caught fire into the Big Ten tournament that saved their season. Duke over Vermont, even though Vermont is a popular 13 seed, upset all the time. It feels like I like Texas Tech here. I think NC State kind of burnt out the candle there with that push into the ACC tournament, and I think Texas Tech does well at protecting the ball enough to kind of control the game. UK, unfortunately, I'm going to take here. I think I like Colorado to beat Boise State, and then I like Colorado to beat Florida personally. So I'll go Colorado there, and then Marquette. This is a pretty chalky. I actually am going to go Houston, and then I think JMU beats Duke, and that is by no means. I'm not being held at gunpoint right now by the JMU fan sitting right beside me, but no, genuinely. JMU, like we said at the beginning, they came into the season. They beat Michigan State to start out. I think they started 15-0. They have all the tools to beat Power 5 conferences and to be a double-digit seed that can make it far into the conference. They have enough scoring. They have post play, so I like them to beat Duke. I think Duke is a little overrated this year personally. I like Texas Tech. I like Kentucky over Texas Tech. I don't like Kentucky, but I don't like Texas Tech either. And then Marquette over Colorado, Marquette over Kentucky. Unfortunately, the JMU train has to come to an end when they play Houston, who I think is like we said, best defensive team, probably the best team in the conference, even though they go crazy cold sometimes. I mean, best team in the nation, even though they go crazy cold sometimes. And then I'll take Houston beating Marquette in the Elite Eight. So I got a 1 seed. That's my first 1 seed, and it's Houston.
Yeah, so I got a little chalky at the top of this. I took Houston, I took Nebraska, kind of back to legends in March, which is going to be a theme for this region. More almost too much discourse on upsets here in the 4-5 area of this. I think we could easily get an upset in one or both of these games. I mean, who doesn't love watching Duke completely flounder in the early rounds in March? But I am going to go with Wisconsin and Duke here, which I think is shockingly going to be probably the least pick combination of all these two games. And then moving on down, I'll take NC State and DJ Burns to win one more game. The Rick Barnes of this era is John Calipari, and he gets a pass, but not from me. I picked Morehead State, who beat Clemson in the NIT in Little John Coliseum. Oakland did that too my freshman year, so it's only right that I pick Oakland to beat Kentucky too. I'm tired of the highest paid coaches with the lowest success rate in March getting just thrown in the Sweet 16. So I'm going to fade Rick Barnes. I'm going to fade John Calipari as well. I'm going to have a little bit of faith in Florida here. I'm going to have them through past a play-in game. I realize that we've had a play-in game winner win a game every iteration of the first four, but I think that may come to an end this year just because teams like Virginia are in it, and they're terrible. So give me the Gators to win one game in March. Marquette gets one of several wins in my bracket against Western Kentucky. And then I will take Houston over Nebraska, Duke over Wisconsin. I will take Houston into the Elite Eight. And then in the bottom half, I'll take NC State over Oakland, Marquette to beat NC State. And then to get out of the South, I will take the 1 seed in Houston over Marquette to come out of the South Conference or South region, excuse me.
I love it.
All right, so obviously Houston in that 116 game. The Nebraska-Texas A&M game is just so tricky. I was back and forth on who to pick all week. I'm going to end up going with Texas A&M just because I feel like overall the more talented team. But, man, if Nebraska gets hot and Tosei is hitting his shots, Texas Tech could be toast. But for now, give me the team that's a little bit harder right now. Texas A&M coming off a couple good wins in the SEC tournament, one over Kentucky. And then like Larry, not a gun held to my head, but I am taking JMU over Wisconsin. Not very proud of it, but I'm going to do it. I just think they're the better team. I don't think Wisconsin is that good. Very beatable. I wasn't a huge fan of Wisconsin getting a 5. I felt like they were more like a 6, even a 7. Just the way they played down the stretch. I mean, I know they ended up taking down Purdue in the Big Ten finals and getting to the championship game, but you look at the last 10, 11 games of the season, I want to say they were like 2-8 or 3-8, something like that. Just
really bad. They didn't cover anything either. Trust me.
Yeah, it was bad. It was bad. Vermont, Jake Marsh, the future, not going to beat Duke. It's not going to happen. Virginia Tech hammered that Vermont team by 30 earlier in the season. This isn't your typical Vermont team. I don't really think they stand a chance against Duke. And I think NC State's run comes to an end. I think Texas Tech is just too much on the defensive end of the floor for NC State to handle. I think they're going to be smart and double DJ Burns as soon as he touches the paint, which not sure why no one did that in the NCAA tournament, but, whatever. And then give me Kentucky over Oakland. I don't know. I feel like it's just too much scoring with Kentucky. And I do like Florida to take down Colorado or Boise State, whoever that ends up being. And if there was to be a 15-2 matchup upset, it's going to be this one. But I just don't see it happening. Give me Marquette, too much talent. Back up to the top, I feel like this one could be the best 1 versus 8-9 game that we have. Just the way these teams match up pretty evenly. I mean, I know Texas Tech is more go, 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 but I feel like just the athleticism on both sides can create a game that's just going to be extremely exciting. But I do have Houston taking down Texas A&M. Rest in peace, Buzz Williams. And I think Duke is just too much for JMU. I think in the end, Duke's too talented. They find a way to get to the Sweet 16. And same thing with Kentucky over Texas Tech. I think in the end, it's just too much talent, but how far can that talent really carry them? And then if I have Florida in the Elite 8, I'm going to be taking them over Marquette, and I'm going to be taking them over Kentucky. I just love Todd Golden. I just love the way they play. I don't know what it is. I was just feeling Florida, even though their starting center got hurt. I just feel like they're the kind of team that can play enough defense against these teams like Marquette and Kentucky to find a way to get to the Elite 8. And like everyone else so far, I got Houston coming out of this region, taking down Florida. I feel like the top half of the bracket really works to their advantage. I do think if Kentucky was to take down Florida, I think Kentucky would have the best chance to beat Houston out of this region. Just because if Kentucky gets hot and Houston is Houston and they're not playing offense, then, I guess anybody can beat them if you think about it like that. But I don't know. Same thing with Tennessee there in the bottom. I feel like Houston finds a way to get to the Final Four. Oh, and also Virginia Tech has 2 points in 10 minutes against Richmond right now.
I knew you were going to ask you about it.
Yeah.
All right, Jack, take us through yourself.
Well, since y'all kind of took Houston, I kind of have it different even before we started talking. I have Houston win. Houston. I have Nebraska. I have like Grayson. I'm pretty chalky in the top half of this. I have Wisconsin. I have Duke. And I have Houston and Duke. And I'll take Houston. And I'll take NC State, Kentucky, Florida, Marquette. I'll take Marquette. I'll take Kentucky. I'll take Kentucky over Marquette. And I'll take Kentucky over Houston. Now, this only plays out if John Calipari starts Reed Shepherd and Rob Dillingham. Clearly, his best two players, and they start on the bench. It makes absolutely no sense to me. Reed Shepherd is his best defender, and just plays. It comes off the bench. Now, granted, Reed Shepherd probably gets the same playing time as the starter, but like they just need to change something out there. Like, and they, as long as they can score, they're fine. Their defense is what kills them. And by starting your best defender on the bench every game just makes no sense to me. But we'll see if he comes out with a lineup of Wagner, Edwards. Is it Bradshaw?
Is it Reeves?
Reeves, and
Yeah.
I forget the fourth. But I think their three best players are Reeves, Shepard, and Dillingham. Just put them on the court at the same time. I know it's going to be a little small ball lineup. Maybe throw in Bradshaw, throw in Big Z, throw in anybody. Just something to get boards, and just have Shepard, Reeves, and Dillingham kind of just play together. Those at the guard position there. But if that happens, if Kentucky gets out, I think Kentucky on paper has the best roster in the tournament. Granted, it's Kentucky, so they should. Almost every year in, year out, they have a top 5 roster. If Calipari put that roster to play up to their potential? We'll see. Hasn't happened since Anthony Davis in 2011, 2012. So it's been a while. I think he's due, but yeah, I have Kentucky coming out of the South.
Didn't even happen with John Wall and DeMarcus Cousins in 2010, by God. But as
It
we were
happened with
talking,
2015 team that went 38-1.
as we were talking, UVA got held to a shot clock violation in their first possession against Colorado State. So
That's UVA basketball fans' favorite thing ever is a shot clock violation.
this shows you where ACC basketball stands right now. I do think Jack made a good point, though, that if Kentucky obviously plays a little bit of defense to get to the point, starting Reed and Dillingham along with Reeves is the key to beating Houston because you have to have good guard play to be able to attack their defensive pressure. So I don't hate the pick of Kentucky. I was actually thinking while Cole was talking too, I'm pretty sure North Carolina tried to double Burns the whole first half, and he had like 7 assists in the first half. The man is he's just a gifted athlete at 300.
I didn't watch the first half. I just watched the Virginia game.
Yeah.
I saw them just try to run out. Is it Jordan Minor?
Yeah.
They were just trying to go one-on-one for the second half of overtime, and it just didn't work.
UNC doubled him for the first half, and he had 6 or 7 assists in like 13, 14 minutes of play. Yeah. So they changed it up. But my last thought on this side of the bracket, and then I'm done talking. Sorry. Texas A&M, I think, does pose a early threat to Houston. If Wade Taylor can get hot, they play the same style. They're aggressive enough to combat Houston's aggressive style of play. I think it just really depends on the Houston offense that we get. I mean, you can see when Houston can be a top 10, 15 offensive efficiency style of offense, or they can be a bottom like 200. The game against Iowa State, even though Iowa State is very good defensively, Houston was just as bad as they played good defense. So, So really with Houston, I was scared to pick them in my Final Four, but I could see a path of them losing early. Any other thoughts here before we finish up with the Final Four in our picks? All right, I'll do mine quick. What was mine? Really quick. Sorry, I don't have it. I have Iowa State, Arizona, Creighton, and Houston. This was the one that I made this morning, and I'm gonna just stick to it. I know it's probably dumb to do this, but I think Iowa State beats Arizona. I think they pose what is going to stop them enough. Arizona's struggles sometimes with scoring anyways, and they don't play great on defense. And I'm going to take Houston over Creighton. I think we get a Big 12 championship rematch in the NCAA tournament championship, and I'm going to take Houston on a revenge trip. So I got Houston winning it all.
So just to recap, I've got Arizona and UConn, and then I've got Houston and Creighton. I'm going to take Arizona over UConn. I think the East is a designed bloodbath. Cole mentioned if they get out of it, they should win a title. I think that's going to take just a bit too much out of them. So the repeat bid will fall short. once they get out of the East, I think. And then I'll take Houston over Creighton. So we end up with a 1 against a 2. And it's been a long time since the team out west won a title in college basketball through this tournament. They play in Phoenix, but I'm still going to have Houston beating Arizona to take on the title. Samson's had this coming for a while now. This Houston team has never been able to get over the hump, but I think this is a golden opportunity for them to do it. You look at the teams and they're just half of the bracket. Kansas taking a big blow today. Kentucky is Kentucky. Tennessee is Tennessee. Purdue is Purdue. They're catching all of the serial underperformers, I think, on that entire right side of the bracket. So I think it sets up pretty well. They may run into a Duke team at the wrong time. There's a couple other gotcha teams in there as well, but I think they can get through the South, get to the title, and win the title. So I've got Houston.
Me and Grayson on Houston, so that means they're losing to Texas A&M.
Yep.
At least Longwood.
Good to recap. I got Auburn coming out of the East, facing UNC out of the West region. Houston out of the South, facing Tennessee. I'm going to take Auburn over UNC. It's something about this Auburn team this year and Bruce Pearl. I don't know what it is. They kind of give me 2019 Texas Tech vibes when I picked them to end up losing to UVA in the national championship. But it just something about it just feels different with this Auburn team. I don't know what it is, but got them advancing to the national championship to take on Houston, who's going to take down Tennessee. The Dalton Connect story ends here. Tennessee doesn't find a way to get over the hump and get to the national championship. And then in an absolute knockdown, drag-out fight, I got Auburn over Houston. Bruce Pearl gets him one.
And as previously mentioned, Trent also has Auburn, so that's
do not listen to me.
That pick got murdered midstream, so I will not hold that against Cole.
Yeah, I know. And it is what it is.
When they lose to Yale, it will be squarely on the shoulders of Trent Ataya and our good friend Cole.
Am I rounding it up?
Yes, sir.
All right, so then recap, I got UConn, UNC, Kentucky, and Creighton. Give me UConn to beat UNC to make it the back-to-back finals. You know what? Let me just ride Kentucky. Give me Kentucky to beat Creighton. And then I'm taking UConn to go back-to-back this year.
Rematch 2013. Okay. Was that the year?
See, I tried to
UConn. Go ahead.
No, you got it.
It was 14.
I think UConn's experience will kind of overshadow Kentucky's talent. I mean, outside of Reeves and is it Mitchell, the forward on Kentucky?
Yeah, Trey who transferred from WVU, piece of crap. Sorry.
Yeah, I feel like they have a lot of freshmen, just like they always do. Unless Calipari changes kind of their starting lineups. I think UConn's talent. I mean, it's that experience just outweighs the talent. And for I don't know when the last time someone back-to-back national championships, but here we go. This is it. This is the year.
2007 with the Florida Gators was the last time we seen
with Joakim Noah.
Yeah. Wow. But I was saying, I tried to guess your championship game, and I had UK, but I thought you were going to take UNC over UConn, so I was close.
No, I think UConn's like really good. The couple games I've watched, dude, the games I've watched, they've been really good.
I mean, if they don't get murdered by the bracket makers, they genuinely have a chance of repeating. I think, kind of like Grayson was saying, it's just it's a bloodbath to get out of the East this year.
I mean, you're not wrong. But like I said,
oh shoot, that was great. Sorry.
It took. I mean, Iowa State handled Houston. Props to them. Houston played really bad. Auburn was an SEC that Kentucky and Tennessee fall out early. I mean, the odds rolled in their favor, then obviously the odds rolled against UConn's favor. But I still think UConn's the strongest team as long as they play up to the potential in the East region.
I like it. All right. Any lasting remarks before we sign off? We got recap. I've got Houston winning it versus Iowa State, which that is what it is. Grayson has Houston winning it over Arizona. Cole has Auburn winning it over Houston, and then Jack has UConn winning it, finishing the repeat over the Kentucky Wildcats. And for the 4Degens podcast, we will be signing off. Thanks for y'all stopping in, and everybody have a good one.